This is a production of Gordon College's Scott Radio.
Scott Radio.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Ben Schneider, back at it again, kicking off a new season for Gordon College's student-run podcast outlet, Scott Radio. We've got a great guest for you guys today. Mikey McKee is in the studio with us, Gordon men's cross-country captain this past year, huge Colorado Avalanche fan. So, Mikey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to be here.
Yeah, this is your first time in the studio, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually my first time on a podcast or radio
Nice.
of any kind.
What do you think?
It's really cool. It's kind of like a weird dream come true to be interviewed for some weird reason, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of great stuff here. But first, I just want to catch up a little bit. I haven't talked to you much since we got back, so how was your Christmas break?
Yeah, it was really good. It was, a lot of things happened.
Did you go home?
I did. I went back to Highlands Ranch. Shout out Colorado. And it was good. It was good to see family. I got to meet up. I really didn't see a whole lot of people. I met one friend who I worked at with camp this summer. Haven't seen her since like June, so it was good catching up.
Yeah, so how's the start of the semester been for you? What class are you taking?
Yeah, I am taking modern genetics, which for anybody listening who knows what that means, I'm really, really busy. Taking that, biostatistics, which is, it's a really good class. It's interesting, but it's also like kind of simple when you're doing real science. I'm taking some research credits, and what's the other class? New Testament with Dr. Hildebrandt.
Nice. Well, Mikey, most of the time when I'm interviewing somebody, I want to get to know them a little bit better before Gordon. So with you, I know you're from Colorado, which is a bit of a long ways away.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, but just tell me about growing up over there and what high school was like for you, and ultimately what brought you here.
Yeah, I'm actually a Denver native. I was born and raised in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, which isn't technically Denver. It's like the way the city is on the south of, like, when we talk about Colorado, people really only talk about like the mountains and Denver because, sorry if you're from the plains, but there's just Buffalo. So I'm from like a small suburb just outside the tech center, which is like maybe 10 miles from like the downtown area. So I was there my whole life. I'm like 10 minutes away from the nearest like mountain and about an hour away from the nearest like, Rocky Mountain National Park or Aspen or Vail. So I'm pretty close to like that backdrop. So growing up, I was just surrounded by like the outdoors and just beautiful scenic views. And I mean, it's kind of interesting having moved. I've been all over the United States, just travel and family and whatnot. People aren't as active, and I didn't realize that till I was like a teenager. I was like, wait, not everybody like runs bikes or does something outdoorsy. So it's kind of like a cool blessing there. Yeah, my parents are awesome. They are blue collar, middle class. Same my grandparents. They're a little bit better for themselves. My grandfather used to work at Livermore Lawrence National Laboratory, where they discovered the element livermorium. I was always kind of a lanky kid, short, small, kind of odd. So running was just obviously the natural choice for things. So I started running after playing like soccer and, the usual little kid sports. When I was about, I want to say like first or second grade, when I saw my dad doing it. My mom and dad used to not be like the most active people. So my dad decided one day he bought like a pair of like starters, like Walmart brand,
Sure.
running shoes. And he just decided like, hey, I'm just going to go out and run like 3 miles every day. And it was really cool. And as a kid, I'm like, that looks so fun. I want to be like Dad. And little did I know that one, it's addictive. And two, it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah. Once you get into it, it can be pretty serious.
Right?
Yeah.
It kind of sucks you in. So I did that. I actually didn't start running competitively, like for real, until middle school. It started in the 7th grade. That was when I joined the charter school team. From like a public school to a charter school, because our public school is really terrible. We got in on a lottery system. So got to like start a team there. And then thanks to it was a blessing and everything. My family is not like a super wealthy family, so don't get that idea. Like we're not Valor. But I did end up getting to go to Valor Christian High School, which is it's a college prep school. It's in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, just south of Denver. And it is actually, when I went there, it was the first in the world to be accredited to its level of like the Global Christian Scholar Honors. It's blue ribbon. It's got a graduate level conservatory. So if you could graduate with like, I don't know exactly, I wasn't an arts guy. For like some of those like theater music students, they could graduate with like college credits. It was ridiculous. I got to go to school with the McCaffreys. I didn't know Christian personally, but I was like in school at the time. Like he had just graduated, and some of his brother. I actually went to school with Dylan, and I think his youngest brother was Ethan. I wasn't super close to them. You know, football, super wealthy. Yeah, so it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, Christian's doing all right now, I think, isn't he?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really cool. Got to meet some like ridiculously like the ties to some money out there was just pretty cool. Meeting like just like friends would have you over and you're like, oh, this is like a mansion. This is cool. Actually, dated a girl who they had a private jet. Like they were so wealthy they had a private jet. It was high school was a time. I was running during that time, of course. I also got into rock climbing a little bit before that. Like I have to do like one Colorado thing since I don't ski or snowboard or mountain bike, so I had to do something. So rock climbing became the obvious choice. So I would like go to practice. I would run cross country practice or track practice, and I would like head over to the local like rec center, which had like a wall, and I'd like climb until I couldn't move. And I do that like every day.
So rock climbing and outdoor stuff has kind of been your thing even since before you got here.
Oh yeah, I've always loved like the outdoors and climbing, and it's kind of like one of the reasons I really liked Gordon was because we were just like this campus in the middle of woods. And I didn't really understand. I only got to visit Gordon once before I came here, so I thought like, oh my gosh, it's just like my backyard. And well, the trees aren't necessarily like that. So I also did speech and debate in high school, which is fun. A lot of arguing. I was pretty competitive in that. I got a good number of like awards and distinctions and made the state tournament a couple years in a row, and I broke at state my senior year, which means I made it to like octa finals. So I was like 32nd or some, arbitrary number like that. That was pretty cool. But throughout high school, I kind of like I was a chronic underachiever. I was like the kid that teachers hated the most because I could always do the work. I just chose not to, which is a blessing and a curse. So like looking at schools, looking at like how I get to Gordon, I like had it in my head, like I'm going to go to Stanford freshman year. Like I'm going to be that guy. Then about a semester into high school, I get a D in English, or not English, it was history. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to shoot for like community college. Because I just didn't want to do the homework. And it was my sophomore year. I was running, and I was just loving that and just getting to be a part of a team and engaging in culture. And actually, DML, should I call him DML?
President Lindsay.
President Lindsay.
I mean, this is very informal, so
I gotcha.
Everybody listening knows who you're talking about. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
DML, don't take me off the air. President Lindsay, sorry. He came and spoke at my school. He's actually he's what I've heard is friends with my friend's dad, Kurt Unruh, who was like dean of students the head dean. I forget what he was of Valor Christian. So kind of an interesting tie there. I never met President Lindsay myself, but kind of a weird connection. Oscar was a good friend of mine. So he came and spoke at a chapel. We had mandatory chapels. And I went to the booth outside, and Gordon was there. And it was just kind of like one of those things where it was like awesome. I like had never heard of Gordon before, didn't know it existed. I knew it was in the consortium with like the schools that Valor always went to, which was like Westmont, Wheaton, Liberty, Gordon. And I like got the little pamphlet, and it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I just kind of like had it in my mind, like, oh, I kind of like Gordon College. I'll give it a look. Didn't really think anything of it. And within that same week that President Lindsay came and spoke, I got an email from Coach Weichard, who was like, hey, saw your times. Maybe you're like, he sent it to my coach, and my coach had forwarded it to all of us on the roster. It was like, hey, do you want to come run for Gordon? So it's just one of those like kind of cool, I don't know, coincidental things. So that's kind of high school for me, was like not really wanting to go to college and then having Gordon just kind of pop out and then going into that.
Yeah. Do you have any particular meets or stories from running in high school that stand out to you?
Oh, yeah. I've got a few. Most of high school running was... So I came in freshman year. I was on like a precipice where like I had not had really good formal training. Like middle school cross country wasn't very intense. The school program wasn't great. Hadn't really ever run high mileage before. And my freshman year, I come and I'm running like 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, my coach starts moving me into this like really fast-paced group with like all these other freshmen who are like really quick. and we're training with these senior guys who are running like, they're sub 17s. Like, I could not keep up, but it was like, hey, go shoot your shot, go do what you can do. And sure enough, it was the scrimmage before the first official 5K of the season. I ended up running sub 20. That was like one of the first major marks of running where I thought like, hey, I could be kind of good at this. Not that I am amazing. I'm not anything to write home about, but it was like really cool. And I'll never forget the first time I broke. So like under 19, kind of like the big next barrier was like, I'm going to go sub 19. I'm going to go sub 19. I'm going to like make that big jump from like JV to varsity. And I'll never forget the first race I ran sub 18. And it was the regional meet my sophomore year. The girls had just raced and they had just qualified for state. Now the guys hadn't qualified for state in a while. And we were such a ragtag team. A lot of sophomores, couple seniors. It was awesome. I ran with this guy named Greg, and Greg was like huge, like big, like two of me combined. And Greg and I kind of ran similar paces. And it was always funny because it would be like this little Mikey. I've always been like 5'8", skinny guy with this like huge dude. So at meets, he would kind of like buffer dudes from like jockeying me around while we'd run. And him and I are running, and I kind of leave him in the first mile. And I see Coach, and he's cheering me on. He goes, yeah, go. It's like, the classic coach nod and like the cheering. I'm like, okay, I must be doing pretty good. So I come around second mile. He's still cheering. He's like, he's going crazy. I'm like, I must be doing really good. But like, you're in the race mentality. You don't realize it. I come through at the finish. I didn't just break 19. Like, I didn't just go sub 19. I had almost broken 18. And it was like, I had this out of my mind race. And we weren't supposed to go to state as a guys team, but we almost made it. We were like we were like 2 points off or something ridiculous like that. So that was like one of like the most incredible moments. Something notable from my senior year. For anybody who follows competitive running, everyone knows the name Cole Sprout by now. He actually joined my team my senior year. He transferred from Faith Christian to Valor Christian. And it was kind of funny because none of us knew who he was his freshman year. At least I wasn't aware. He wasn't like that big of a deal yet. And I remember that like track season, like coach was like, look at that kid. He's really fast. So, like he didn't, saw him at our home meet where we do this, it's called Holy Wars. We'd have like all the local Christian schools. I was like, geez, that dude's a freshman. He's running faster 800 times than I'll ever run. And sure enough, first day of summer practice, and who's there? Cole Sprout. So it was kind of crazy. I actually trained with him that summer because no one knew he was going to pop off a sub 15 5K at an XR. So that was really cool. He's a really cool guy, by the way. I know a lot of like competitive athletes kind of get the rap of being like, I don't know, arrogant or maybe not human. He is the most down-to-earth guy. Like, if you met him just, like, outside of running, you would have no idea. He's this, like, incredible, sensational athlete. So, shout out to Cole if you're out there. And then, like, into that season probably was my best 5K ever. We ran this meet. It was at South High School, which is in downtown Denver, like, literally beautiful scenery, like, in the city. And it was this super flat course. It was, like, all, like, street and, like, park racing. So what we did was we did, like, 2 loops around this, like, grass park, a People's Park, I believe it was called. Then 2 loops around the high school, and then we finished with an 800 around their track. Like, the course went through there. And I'll never forget, like, we had built this really good varsity squad. It was like, we had Cole in the front. Then there were, like, 5 of us. Like, let's see, it was Matt Harrison, Josh Thompson, Jack Ray, and myself. So 4 guys. Like, we were kind of, like, right behind Cole. We were like the varsity squad. We had made it to state last year. We were ready. We were hungry. We were ready to kind of make that jump from, like, we're just a 4A school to, like, we are the 4A school. And we just all happened to have that day, like, that race where we all just coming around. And it was one of those moments where I'm on that last 800 on the track, and I'm, like, with this guy. And he starts, like, trash-talking me. Like, when was the last time you got chirped on a cross-country course? And he's, like, chirping me. He's like, what you got, white boy? What you got? I'm like, I didn't say anything. I'm dying. I'm like, I have nothing left, but I cannot let this guy snap at me and beat me. So I know, having run the 800 in track, that was kind of my event. I'm like, all right, I know for a fact he's going out way too hard on this first 4. I'm going to catch him. I'm going to, like, pace him and then just blow him out of the water. So we come around for that second lap. It kind of, like, was on the outside and then the inside of the trap, kind of like a winding. And I'm just, like, barely nudging him out for, like, a photo finish. Going like 17:20 something, like 21 I think was the final time. It was just like the best race, best story, good race, good time. We ended up actually getting second place at the meet, which is like the first time our guy squad had like done something like that. So it's like a really cool time.
Yeah, so I know you got into what brought you to Gordon a little bit. Tell me about that first preseason, because actually your freshman year was my sophomore year. I missed that preseason. But tell me what you were feeling your first week on the team, going out to the Adirondacks, and what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I'd had a really good track season that last senior year. That last 800 season was pretty good. I had PR'd. I'd really broken like a barrier, gone like sub 205, I believe I went, like a 204, 202. I don't remember off the top of my head anymore. I'm sure I could look it up on MileSplit at some point. And like going into that summer, I think what it chalks up to is I probably should have bought new shoes. But that summer, I kind of lost a summer of training going into preseason because I had this like nagging hip injury. And like every time I tried to step out and run, it just sucked. Like I couldn't, like I would like go out and like try to do even like a mile, half mile. I was like, I am dying. Like, so I went in underprepared. I'm like, I don't know. I was like a different person end of high school. I was senior, ruling the school, head of the world kind of feeling. So it was humbling in a lot of ways going into preseason. First of all, realizing that just because I came from Valor does not mean that I am a sensational athlete, which I never was. And those hopes were dead and gone. Also, I was not ready for college athletics yet. I definitely did that season work into it, but that week I was like out of my league. I remember Toro was the captain that year. Sebastian picked me up from the airport, and it was funny. I ran my mouth off and didn't know what I was saying. I was just, yeah. But it was a good time. It was really cool. It was my first time ever being in New York, even. We didn't get to go to the city, but upstate was really cool. It's really pretty out there in the Adirondacks. And
you got to go to Lake Placid, right?
Yeah, that was really cool. I'd never been to that town. It's where Miracle on Ice happened. I wasn't super big into hockey at that time. I kind of loosely followed, but it's like really cool to be in that environment. And I met Chase Sylvia. That's where him and I really hit it off. I remember him and I went to the Ben and Jerry's there. It was a good time. It was really cool kind of like seeing Coach in that environment too. I remember being like super intimidated of him that first week of practice because I was like, I've never met this guy. When I came in tour Gordon, it was like over the summer, the year prior. So he was at home. He was on break. It was just like, I hadn't really had a conversation with him before. I'd only ever talked to Sebastian or Chandler on the phone. So it was like, but he's a really cool guy, and I really respect him. It was really cool to get to know him over that time.
Yeah, so you mentioned you're an outdoors guy as well. Just tell me about being able to mix your love and passion for the outdoors with your love and passion for running that first week.
Yeah, it was really something special because I grew up, obviously trail running was kind of like my go-to. Like we would just run these single track trails in, I'm kind of situated in it's called the Plateaus. It's just right before you hit like the big mountains, like the 14ers and whatnot in the Rocky Mountains. So we weren't like in like crazy, like wasn't climbing up 14ers or anything crazy like that. But they were definitely good, like peaks and valleys and all sorts of that. So like it was really comfortable, like being able to like already being surrounded by that at home to come to New England New Yorkers, going to the Adirondacks and seeing like this whole new like ecosystem and like this whole new like, because the trails weren't a single track. At least the ones we ran were like paved and stuff, but they were like so pretty and like in different ways. Where I'm from, it's very like shrubby, scrub oaky, because Colorado, though it's altitude-y and Rocky Mountains and pine forest, it's all an arid desert. So anything below the tree line or like pre-alpine in terms of like composition is primarily like scrub oak and grass and dirt. So it was very green and like super cool. So like it's just something else when you're never bored when you're running out in that. It's just unique. So it was really cool.
Yeah, so you've done 2 seasons now. Tell me about your freshman year and just kind of compare it to the experience that you had this past year as a captain.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think freshman year, you come in, you're idealistic, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I definitely didn't know what I was getting myself into. I definitely didn't have the mindset of what it means to be a college athlete yet. But I grew a lot. I think that first year was a lot of learning how to push through a lot of things. I've kind of been unlucky throughout all my college running. I've had just weird circumstances. Like my freshman year, my tooth went out. That just sucked. And just lots of things of like, I don't know. I think freshman year was a lot of finding myself and finding my place on the team. I think that, I don't know what happened with that whole captain thing, but I'm definitely thankful for the opportunity. I learned a lot about leadership, and I'm still kind of like in a soul searching, like processing that. But I think that freshman year really set me up to humble me in a lot of ways to understand what it really means to be a leader. Now, that's not to say I came into it humble, because once sophomore season rolled around, because I'll be honest, like that freshman track year, I withdrew late from a class, and so I was ineligible to run track. So that was awesome. It's all on me, completely my fault. That was stupid. I didn't understand, but still, oops. So that was hard, being away from a season of that was the first season I had not been running in pretty much since 7th grade competitively, where I hadn't been on a team and hadn't been like in that discipline cycle. And it was like mind-boggling. Like I have my own, like I deal with like ADHD and like other mental health things. So like running has always been an outlet, something structured, something that helps me, like where the rest of the world kind of feels chaotic. Like I have that one thing that's like in control. So that was like a big adjustment, and it really helped me grow because I learned to cope. I learned to be like dependent of it, which gives you a new respect for it. Because when you don't need it, it becomes something you truly want deep down within. And ultimately that makes or breaks, I think, how you compete, whether or not it's something that you want or something that someone else wants or something you just rely on. So I kind of had that change of heart going into sophomore year. And then the summer before this past season, I worked at a summer camp, Camp Hydrahaji in Bailey, Colorado. And I didn't understand going into it that I wouldn't be able to run, but they actually didn't let us leave the property at all week. I had one day off, and that was the only time I could leave because it was a 24-hour, like we had the kids all week, so I wasn't allowed to per Colorado camp laws. So that kind of sucked. That kind of blew my training. I know coach wasn't super happy, and I wasn't super happy, but I'd already committed to the job not knowing, so kind of had to make do with it. So that kind of started out on the bad foot. I also didn't really understand what my role was as captain, and I slowly grew to understand that. But it was hard at first. Like, I remember at the first meet, and actually, shout out to Josh Crowder on the team, because he really helped me kind of understand and put into perspective, whether he meant to or not, like, a lot of things about myself that I didn't necessarily want to confront at the time, but were really important for me to confront. I was like, all right, Sebastian's kind of laid back right now. He's different than last year. He's not loud. Well, guess what? I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be jazzed up. I'm going to jazz everybody out. I'm going to be like coach, I'm going to be like little coach. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm just like getting snappy with people. And like I was stressed about the race, but I couldn't show it. I felt like I had to like help out. And like Crowder came up to me after the race and was like, hey, that really wasn't cool. Like you shouldn't have been like rallying everybody. And like, obviously there were like a degree of like, I thought I was doing the right thing, but like I had to like take a second back and understand like, I don't really know a whole lot. And that's kind of like, I guess, descriptive of the whole experience of being a captain. Was a lot of like hard lessons that I needed to learn as a person. And they all kind of fall into that category of like, I thought one thing, but in reality, it's not like that. I learned that to motivate someone, it's not about just telling them to grit their teeth and do it. That's your job. You can control how you act and you can take it, but you can't make someone else. So that's just translated to a lot of life is, I guess that translates to patience. I don't know, some virtue. So, but it was really cool and a lot. It was a big transition.
Yeah. So you're taking this track season off too. So what are you up to right now? What are your plans for this semester?
Yeah, I'm taking an indefinite hiatus from running just because of personal reasons. No hard feelings with the team or with coach. Actually, Coach Weichert is probably the most amazing coach someone could ask for. Personally, I feel that. In the meantime, I am a bio major. I do hope that I can go on and do a PhD program. So I'm spending a lot of time on my research, kind of working on a thesis right now, not a PhD thesis, to clarify. I do a lot of rock climbing. I'm trying to get back into the shape I was in high school, where I could For anybody who knows what lead climbing is, I was able to lead a 512A. So that was kind of like the peak of my abilities. I'm nowhere near that. I haven't been there in a long time, but I finally decided, like, all right, I'm going to take the season. I'm going to, like, really train and get back into that, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I get back into that indoor sport climbing scene. I also, I'm a big hockey fan, as you know. So I started playing ball hockey with these local guys. We actually didn't mean to find them. They're a bunch of dudes who go to Lowell, UMass Lowell, and just from, like, the area. It happened so much that my buddy was going through a breakup at one point. And he's like, dude, I just need to shoot the puck around. Like, let's just go to, like, a Balch Park, and let's go shoot the ball around. And we, like, brought our skates and stuff, because we're thinking it's just going to be us. We're just going to, like, skate around, have a good time. And we get there, and they're these, like, dudes who are, like, just classic New England dudes. They called the goalie Bob, which is a nickname. They all had goofy nicknames. And I swear it was something out of, like, On the Bench videos, or if anybody knows what those guys are. They're using, like, wood sticks, and they're just, like, beating the crap out of each other. They're like, hey, we need 2 more people. You guys want to play 5v5, 1 goalie, half court? And Kyle and I look at each other, we're like, oh, yeah, let's go. So we end up playing half court, and it turns into this, like, kind of weekly thing. We've only played 2 games so far, but it's turning into a pretty regular occurrence. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun. I'm really enjoying that. I love hockey, and I've wanted to play for a long time. So kind of expanding my horizons, playing something new. I, of course, play the rattiest position ever. I'm the checker on the left wing. So my job is to beat the crap out of the dude in the corner. As the smallest dude out there, it's awesome and kind of goofy. Yeah, and when I'm not doing rock climbing or hockey or studying, 90% of my time is studying. I like to spend time with my girlfriend a lot. She's awesome. She's super cool. She's an RA in Fulton. She's just amazing. So we're trying to slowly tour all the coffee shops in the area. So a few weeks ago we went to Little Wolf, and gotta say, pretty darn good coffee there.
Yeah, so you mentioned spending a lot of time studying. Tell me about your major and what you want to do with that, where you see yourself down the road, and what you want to do for your career.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I started out as a history major when I came to Gordon, which is so bizarre because I thought that having done debate, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a lawyer. No problem. And, a real, I don't know, pick your lawyer, right? And then the reality of it set in where at the Gordon information meeting, they talked a lot about museum management and like manuscripts and like you could work at a local museum. I'm like, that is not what I want to do. And I don't want to, that's just not my jam. So I'd watched a lot of House that summer going to college. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try pre-med. I'm going to try and be a doctor. I think I could do it. Mind you, I haven't taken a science since junior year of high school at this point. So like it was completely stupid, like ridiculous. So I tried pre-med for a while and I really liked that. I really enjoyed pre-med. The problem with it is where my own personal goals aligned didn't necessarily match up with what it means to be a doctor. No disrespect to any doctor. I think that you've earned it. Got a lot going. I just personally couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with like the bureaucracy, and there's just some muddy stuff that comes with human health that I wasn't necessarily interested in. So I kind of like had this like crisis of like, okay, I'm not going to do pre-med. That's kind of my driving force for a year. What am I going to do? Well, I worked at camp this summer, and it was really like transformative. It kind of like really spiritually just kind of filled my soul with things that I might want to do. So I decided that I knew that I was going to stay in biology because that was just something that God had really like fascinated me with. And the other thing I really like is I like working with like people, and I like teaching. I love to explain and like explore things. So I kind of like mashed up. I'm like, wait, I love biology. I love to teach people biology. Why don't I become a professor? So I ended up switching my major completely. I'm like, I got to pick a field. You can't just like teach, like professor of biology isn't exactly like a degree. So I decided that I was going to choose ecology, partly because my mentor and advisor, Dr. Keller, shout out Dr. K, is an ornithologist and an ecologist, and he's just like super informative, like super transformational, like how I've thought and how I've like interacted with biology. He's really been a driving factor in like fostering my curiosity. I also am fascinated with the idea of conservation and how in the era of conservation, especially population genetics, there is this intersect between like hard mathematics and hard biochemistry with like natural phenomena. So like something as small as a chromosome can contribute to something as large scale as how inbred a large population is. And I think that is the coolest thing ever, how something like that can be so intertwined. And that's kind of like, it's one of the, I could go on and on. I think that biology is just like, I think of like how DNA is engineered. Everything is put together like a puzzle, exactly how it needs to be the genetic transfer of information. Like everything down from like the sugar it's used, pentose sugar. It has 5 carbons because there are 5 distinct areas where certain function groups at certain like, due to like the physics of it and the molecular geometry, need to be spacing so you can have information transfer. Like it's so cool to me.
I'm a comm major, so all that just goes right over my head. But.
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I really hope to do a PhD. I really want to study population genetics if that's a possibility in my future, or something in that field of like studying how populations change, and I don't know, more the mathematical side. So.
Sure. You kept up involvement with Levita at all since your freshman year?
I did it the summer after my freshman year, and I don't do a whole lot with Levita.
I see you in the rock gym occasionally.
Yeah, I do. I volunteered at the Levita Rock Gym. It's really just kind of out of ease of access. I'm trying to get back into that shape, and I don't have a car to get to Metro Rock, so
Sure.
I really do appreciate that community too. They're not like with the official. They are part of the official Levita, but like it's not like the same. Like it's not like just the Sherpas who are there. Like hardly anybody who works at the summer camp is there. So those guys are really, really cool. It's the presidents are Electa Sutton and Christian. I don't know your last name, dude. I'm so sorry. It's blanking for me. I call him Smudge. He's a really cool guy. And it's run right now in terms of like the school administration by Sam Kramseg, my Sherpa. So it's really cool. It's really cool like environment, because not only is the Gordon gym like pretty ridiculous. We got some pretty good routes we just put up, but it's also a community gym. So like I can work with kids when I volunteer, like local like school groups that come in and just people from the community. So I do that, and outside of that, I don't really talk to a whole lot of people from Levita. It's just didn't cross paths. I don't spend enough time in the East Coast.
Yeah, so let's get into hockey, because I know you're a big fan of that. I wore my Flyers cap just for you.
Gross.
But yeah. Well, I confess I haven't been keeping up as much as I probably should be. But I saw, I guess the Flyers have 71 points right now. The Avalanche have 72, so I guess they're fairly evenly matched. But
yeah, when you look at the Flyers, they're in a stacked Metro division. They're competing with the likes of the Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals. Also, shout out to Ovechkin for not getting his 800th point against, or 700th point against Colorado. With love, you're welcome. Even though we lost that game. Yeah, that Carter Hart kid, dude, he's something else. I don't know where you guys found him.
Yeah, I think he's the best thing our team's got going for us right now down in Philly.
Yeah, if Elvis Merzlikins didn't just come out of nowhere in Columbus, I'd say he was like a real top like goaltender candidate. Maybe not the Vezina. That'll probably go to I have no clue. I'm not even going to pretend to know who's going to get it this year. Probably Vasilevsky, knowing how lucky the Lightning are. So that's been cool to see. On your end, the Avs. Oh, don't get me started. Listen, we had a chance during the Stadium Series at the Air Force Academy. We had a chance to pass St. Louis, finally, one of my least favorite teams. Sorry if you're from St. Louis. Can't stand Robert Bortuzzo or the entire franchise.
I bet you're having fun during the Cup Final last year.
Oh, I was really not. I really was not. I wanted them to be eliminated when the Jets played them. But, yeah, we almost beat them. But for whatever reason, during that game, Jonathan Quick decided, hey, I'm going to be remember when I won a Stanley Cup? I'm going to play like that. So he played like that. And nobody from the Avalanche except for Eric Johnson and Sam Girard decided, I guess we'll play today. I guess we're going to be the ones. Also, Cale Makar, but that's because when is he ever not playing? He's generational talent. The thing with the Avs that kills me is we get really, really hot, super hot, and then we just don't. Either it's because of injuries or because of whatever reason, we just go cold, and it's the most frustrating thing ever as a fan. Also, Grubauer's numbers. Listen, I love Grubauer. I think he's way better than Varlamov. I think that he's exceptional, did us really well. But he's posting up terrible numbers. He has ever since he got injured. And why are we still playing him over Francouz? Pavel Francouz put up ridiculous numbers at the World Championships over the summer. And every time he's played, like, those have not been, majority of them have not been goals on him. They've been goals because of our, like, lacking defense. Zadorov. So, I don't know. I'm thinking we can do it. I think we'll make a deep cup run this year. But I'm just hoping that, I hope we can get things figured out. I'm hoping that Mikko Rantanen will finally start playing like he deserves with that, like, what, 10 mil contract he made this year? Like, ridiculous.
You have a pick to win the cup this year?
Ooh. I don't want to jinx it, but I'll go with my second pick. I'm going to go with, I think the Penguins might actually do it again this year.
Okay.
I think they're just butthurt enough from what happened last year, and the way they've been playing, dude. Like, you would have thought that Crosby was in it the whole season.
Yeah, so that would be their third and 5 years, rather. Yeah.
Right, new dynasty, and what they just made a trade with I want to say Montreal, some team. They got someone really. Oh, my mind is blanking, but yeah, and plus just Evanji Malkin, can someone just stop him? He can't be stopped. They're ridiculous.
Yeah. So, well, I was kind of surprised when you mentioned going out to Lake Placid freshman year. You said you weren't too into hockey back then. That was just a year and a half ago. So what got you into the sport? Yeah,
so I've loosely always kind of been a hockey fan. I never was like a football guy, so hockey was kind of the go-to. My parents are from California, so they kind of like, my dad was like a San Jose fan growing up. But when the Nordiques, the Quebec Nordiques, moved to Colorado in like the late 90s, my dad was diehard. He's like, I love these guys. They're awesome. So he was like always an Avalanche fan. So we always kind of like loosely had it in the home. We didn't watch it a lot in my childhood because pretty much after everyone retired, we sucked really, really bad. Like really bad. Like Matt Duchene bad. So, no offense, Matt Duchene. But just here and there, I'd always kind of had a mild fascination. I played a little bit of lacrosse growing up too, so which is like the Colorado equivalent to hockey, even though hockey is the equivalent. But yeah, so like, I don't know, just never really had an opportunity to really get into it. And then I came to college, and I realized like, I don't like the Patriots, and I'm sorry for whoever's listening if you do. No offense. I don't like the Broncos either, so it's not like either. I just don't like football. And basketball, I never was like around, never played it. So I was like, you know what I really enjoy, like to watch and like to like play around a little bit? I like hockey. So I'm really going to like follow up this season. And it started last year randomly, and I just got more and more into it as time went on. Saw a couple games and then became a diehard.
Have you gotten a chance to play yourself at all?
Yeah. Like I said, I play kind of spottily on the weekends. I never played competitive organized hockey, like as a team or anything. Sadly, I'd love to maybe going forward join a beer league team if I can get good enough. Skates are expensive and so is gear. But yeah.
Yeah, so the sport's expensive to play, but
yeah,
no immediate plans to start major competitive things anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about again, if I could, if I have the time commitment, maybe next semester I'll look into playing hockey. I think right now what I'm really just trying to do is focus on academics and getting out of Gordon. I have the opportunity to graduate a semester early, so I'm going to try and do that.
Okay.
Save some money.
Sure.
I'm really trying to pour into my research, really pursue that career future. And who knows, I might be studying abroad in New Zealand next spring too, so that would be like really cool and kind of put a damper on doing anything competitive. Maybe getting into rock climbing. That is probably the more realistic goal, just based on where I'm at and what I naturally am like probably better at. But the problem with that is that I'd have to I'd have to really do it. It's a time commitment thing that I don't necessarily have, so.
Sure. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time out this evening to come in here and telling your story, and I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. It was awesome.
Scott Radio. All right, everyone. So that was the conversation with Mikey. I hope you all enjoyed. Sorry if the audio seems a bit off. We were having some sort of trouble with my microphone, but Nothing nearly as bad as what happened in the episode with Shane last semester. I tried messing with the volume while I was editing, so hopefully that turned out alright. If you were listening live, I did share who my guest is going to be for this upcoming week, but for the rest of you, I'm going to keep the suspense going just a little bit longer. But we've got a great show planned, so I'm sure you all are going to enjoy. So that's it. Thank you all for listening. Every episode is up on my channel, so if you missed one week or just want to go back and listen to one of your favorites again, feel free to check them out. And we'll see you all live at 7 on Monday. Have a good day, everyone.